Why we need dietary discipline in 2020. This dietary discipline story requires some background. The challenges we face in 2020 are quite different than those of our ancestors thousands of years ago. From hunting and gathering, to farming and agriculture, to where we are now, a lot has changed. We've come a long way since the advent of farming. One of the first civilizations to farm and achieve a surplus of food was the Sumerians over 6,500 years ago. This excess of food is what allowed their civilization to strengthen and strive. We now live in one of the strongest civilizations in history. Just like with the Sumerians, a surplus of food is also available to us. But it doesn't end there. We have even more than that. We have the immediacy of the internet. Great luxuries, right? It depends on your perspective. With these luxuries comes downsides. Although we don't have to struggle physically and mentally to feed ourselves, we find ourselves with a different problem. It's a problem of excess. Excess choice, excess quantity, excess convenience. Whereas consumption used to be regulated by the limited availability of food, we now don't have any troubles acquiring it. In fact, we can almost acquire whatever we want whenever we want. The fear of having no food doesn't even cross our minds. At this point, we expect it. It's a blessing, but also a curse. Emotional eating. Having this readily available supply of food has led us to consume it based on our emotions. It happens to the best of us. We eat when we're bored, we eat when we're sad, we eat when we're happy. This type of emotional eating doesn't serve us well. In fact, it makes us fat. Consider more difficult times. Times when we had to be careful not to overconsume since reserves were limited. Or times when we didn't have food but instead had to go out and acquire it. This wouldn't lend itself to a habit of emotional eating. Do you think that our ancestors who had to live through those realities would have been less happy? I doubt it. Fast for a few days, or at the very least, go to bed hungry for a few days. You'll be surprised to find your mood in a much better place. Emotions can be temptations to make bad decisions. That's where dietary discipline needs to come in. In the face of emotions and excess food, the temptations are stronger, but falling for them makes life even harder than we intend. Minimal effort, maximal processing. On top of the readily available supply of food, we also have near zero effort required to get it. It's as simple as logging into Uber Eats and having it arrive at our door within 30 minutes. This limited effort means that we have to expend nearly 0 calories to get what could be around 1,000 calories. Not to mention that most of the food options readily available to us are prepared in ways that are unnatural. These are food choices that didn't exist until within the last 50 years. Most foods that come in a package also come with refined ingredients and chemicals that improve taste and appearance. The ingestion of chemicals leaves us more prone to disease and DNA damage than ever before. So does the popular saying of everything in moderation really fit here? Can we afford moderation with some of these things? I would prefer if that were the case, but for me personally, allowing myself to eat a little results in eating a lot. So for me, and I suspect that for many others, none is better than some. Key takeaways of dietary discipline. In a world that's viciously against body shaming, I take a more nuanced view. Feeling bad about ourselves isn't just something that society constructed. This is our only mechanism to act as a wake-up call to make change. It's a painful guide for us, not to succumb to, but to act upon. I still think there's a place for self-acceptance. Self-acceptance should come as a result of effort, not results. We should constantly be driving towards improving our health and our happiness. Choosing to ignore our flaws isn't good for anybody, especially ourselves. In the face of extreme abundance, immediacy, and food processing, we need to practice dietary discipline, not in a way where we claim to be on a diet, but rather in a way where it becomes a lifestyle of eating healthy, keeping our consumption in check, and learning to restrict the wrong foods and eliminating the idea of a cheat meal. This isn't as militant sounding as it might seem. If you enjoyed this article, you can find more like it at www.banafit.com. That's www.banafit.com.